Section 4 ga o'tamiz endi. Xo'p, section 4 da nima bor ekan? One word only debdi. Faqatgina bitta so'z yozishimiz kerak. Effects on urban environment animals. Demak, urban environmentda shahar environmentini, atrof muhitini hayvonlarga ta'siri, introduction bor ekan, recent research bor ekan, plus long term possibility bor ekan. O'qib chiqamiz. Recent urban development represent massive environmental changes. It was previously thought that only a few animals were suitable for city life. Something because of the adaptability. Demak, oldin o'ylangan ekan, faqatgina bir ikkita animallar, kichkina raqamdagi animallar, hayvonlar shahar hayotiga suitable bo'lgan, to'g'ri kelgan. Something demak bu hayvon turi bo'lishi kerak, because of its general adaptability. Umumiy jihatdan adaptable bo'lganligi uchun ham uni olar ekanmiz. Plus pigeon ekan, because the walls are similar to. Demak, pigeonligini sababi, kaptarligi sababi shahardagi buildinglarning analari, devorlari nimagadir o'xshash ekan. Nimagadir o'xshash, demak bu daraxtga o'xshash bo'lishi mumkin, tog'ga o'xshash bo'lishi mumkin. Qisqasidan aytda, qanaqadir object bo'ladi, joy nomi bo'ladi bu yerda. Shundaylar shekilli nima demoqchi bo'lganimni. In fact, many urban animals are adapting with unusual nima. Ko'plab urban animallar adapt qilishayotgan ekan. Bu nima bilandir, bilmayman nimaligini. Nerealni bitta unusual degani nima degani? Noodatiy bir narsa bilan adapt qilayotgan ekan. Research. Man bu study small urbanized mammal species. Specimen using museums in Minnesota, she found the size of their had increased. Demak bu tana qismi bo'ladi. U topibdiki, o'sha hayvonlarning nimasidir, qaysidir tana qismi kattalashibdi, yiriklashibdi. Katta ehtimol bilan yirik ana bo'ladi bu. Miya bo'lishi kerak. She suggested this, chunki katta miyasi kattalashishi kerak edi. Suggested this may be due to the need to locate new sources of something and to deal with new dangers. Bu she suggest qilar ekan, demak bu taxmin qilar ekan, nima uchun bo'lganligini. Bu yangi source of nima? Food bo'ladi-da, keng katta ehtimol. Ovqatning yangi source'larini topish, yangi danger, ya'ni xavflar bilan deal with qilish, ya'ni muammolarni hal qilish bo'yicha bo'lsa kerak degan qarorga kelibdi, degan taxminni qilibdi bu. Katerina Miranda focused on the of urban and rural blackbirds. Urban va rural blackbirdlarni nimasidir gadir fokus qilibdi. Demak, bu ham tana qismi bo'lishi kerak. Menimcha tana qismi bo'ladi. Head bo'lishi mumkin, tail bo'lishi mumkin, bir narsada behavior bo'lishi mumkin. She found urban birds were often braver, but were afraid of situations that were adjective bo'ladi. Quick, short, beautiful, dangerous. Qanaqadir situatsiyalardan qo'rqqan ekan. He found that some animals respond to by producing lower level of hormones. Demoqchimda respond to qanaqadir situatsiya bo'ladi-da, qanaqadir situatsiyaga lower level of hormonlar bilan respond qilar ekan. Qanaqadir event bo'ladi u. Sarah Parton's teams found that urban squirrels use their to help them communicate. Kommunikatsiya qilish uchun nimadir ishlatadi. Demak, bu ham tana qismi bo'ladi. Nimasindir. Squirrellar quloqini qilishi mumkin, qo'llarini qilishi mumkin. Kommunikatsiyaga mana qasddan bersa, kommunikatsiyaga tushunishi mumkin. Masalan, species of animals may develop which are unique to cities, however some changes may not be something. Adjective bo'ladi, may not be. Mana, ko'pchilik animallar specieslari, ya'ni hayvon turlari faqatgina cityda yashash uchun unik bo'lib develop qiladi, lekin deyapti, ba'zi bir o'zgarishlar may not be nima? O'zgarishlar sifat bo'ladi bu. Tez bo'lmasligi mumkin, chiroyli bo'lmasligi mumkin, xunuk bo'lmasligi mumkin, shunaqa sifat bo'ladi. Sifat kutishlaring kerak bo'lsinda. Demak, men sizlarga ozgina vaqt beraman, o'qib olasizlar, o'tirib, ungacha men borib kelaman bir joyga. O'qib olinglar prosta. O'qib olinglar. Keling endi boshlaymiz.
Section 4. An urban environment. Questions 31 to 40.
Let's go.
Hi. Today we're going to be looking at animals in urban environments. And I'm going to be telling you about some research on how they're affected by these environments. Now, in evolutionary terms, urban environments represent huge upheavals, the sorts of massive changes that usually happen over millions of years. And we used to think that only a few species could adapt to this new environment. One species which is well known as being highly adaptable is the crow, and there have been
Crow. Qarg'a. One species that has been thought to be highly adaptable to crow dedi. Javob topamiz, mana shuni topamiz. Hey, ol, olib tashlaman buni. Hop, qisqasi mana deydi. Damn it. We used to think that only a few species could adapt to new environment and gapda. One species which is well known as being highly adaptable is the crow. Highly adaptable keyword, crow, and there have been various studies about how to manage. Qisqasi crow bo'ladi javob. Qarg'a.
various studies about how they manage to learn new skills. Another successful species is the pigeon, because they're able to perch on ledges on the walls of city buildings, just like they once perched on cliffs by the sea.
Just like they once perched on the cliffs by the sea. The cliffs bo'ladi, qoyalar. Cliffs bo'ladi javob. Xo'p, nimaga unaqa bo'ldi? Tarjima qiladigan bo'lsangiz, pigeonlar perch on ledges of the walls of the building. That's like once perched on the cliffs by the sea. Qisqasi javob cliffs bo'ladi. Agar realni javob kerak bo'ladigan bo'lsa, mana shu qismni tarjima qilib olasizlar. Men charchadim, endi qilolmayman buni. O'zim qilolmayman. I'm sorry, to'g'risi. O'zi energiya qolmadi, qilolmayman.
But in fact, we're now finding that these early immigrants were just the start of a more general movement of animals into cities, and of adaptation by these animals to city life. And one thing that researchers are finding especially interesting is the speed with which they're doing this.
Speed with which they're doing this. Demak, unusual speed bo'lar ekan. Speed. Men tezlikman dedi-ku Chaqmoq McQueen yoki Flash. Ana shu speed with which they're doing this bo'lar ekan javob. When finding these are just sort of the more general movement of animal into cities, adaptation of these animals to the city. One thing that researchers are finding especially interesting is the speed at which they are doing this. We're not talking about the gradual evolution here. These animals are changing fast.
We're not talking about gradual evolution here. These animals are changing fast. Let me tell you about some of the studies that have been carried out in this area. So, in the University of Minnesota, a biologist called Emily Snellrud and her colleagues looked at specimens of urbanized small mammals, such as mice and gophers, that had been collected in Minnesota, and that are now kept in museums there. And she looked at specimens that had been collected over the last 100 years, which is a very short time in evolutionary terms. And she found that during that time, these small mammals had experienced a jump in brain size when compared to rural mammals.
Jump in brain size when compared to rural mammals. Rural qishloqdagilar bilan qaraganda brain size o'zgarib ketgan ekan. Brain. Javob ko'rsatmasam bo'lmaydi. Qisqasi mana. Which may be very short time evolution terms. She found that during the time these small mammals had experienced a jump in brain size. Damn it. Qisqasi mana qilishim kerak ekan. Brain size when compared to rural mammals. Ana shu javob bo'ladi javob. Qisqasi ana shunda qo'yib qo'yaman.
Now, we can't be sure this means they're more intelligent, but since the sizes of other parts of the body didn't change, it does suggest that something cognitive was going on. And Snellrud thinks that this change might reflect the cognitive demands of adjusting to city life, having to look in different places to find food, for example.
Food, for example, having to find different places for food, for example, food bo'ladi. new source of food, or to deal with dangers deydi hozir.
And coping with a whole new set of dangers.
Coping with a new whole set of dangers dedi. Deal with, cope with a synonym. New set of degani otda new просто и dangers. O'qish kerak. And Snell wrote things that this change might be suggest the synonym reflected on the cognitive events of adjusting to city life, having to look in different places to find food, or for example coping with whole set of new dangers bo'ldi.
Then over in Germany, at the Max Planck Institute, there's another biologist called Katerina Miranda, who's done some experiments with blackbirds living in urban and rural areas. And she's been looking not at their anatomy, but at their behavior.
Behavior. Anatomiyasiga emas, behaviorga e'tibor bergan. Behavior bo'ladi. Behavior. Ispanskiga o'xshab ketadi. Behavior. So over Germany, there's another biologist, Katerina Miranda, who's done some experiments with blackbirds living in urban areas, and she has been looking at not their anatomy, but their behavior. O'zini tutishiga qaragan.
So, as you might expect, she's found that the urban blackbirds tend to be quite bold. They're prepared to face up to a lot of threats that would frighten away their country counterparts. But there's one type of situation that does seem to frighten the urban blackbirds, and that's anything new.
New.
Anything they haven't experienced before.
Anything new and anything that they haven't experienced before. Yangi situatsiyalardan qo'rqar ekan. But there's one type of situation that does seem to frighten the urban blackbirds. That's anything new, anything that they haven't experienced before. Bo'ladi, new bo'ladi job.
And if you think about it, that's quite sensible for a bird living in the city. Jonathan Atwell in Indiana University is looking at how a range of animals respond to urban environments. He's found that when they're under stress, their endocrine systems react by reducing the amount of hormones such as corticosterone into their blood.
So stress bo'lar ekanda. In stress they respond by reducing amount dedi. Stress bo'ladi. Stress. Hop. Mana. He has found that when they're under stress, their endocrine system reacts by reducing the amount of hormones such as cortisol in their blood system.
It's a sensible seeming adaptation. A rat that gets scared every time a subway train rolls past won't be very successful. There's just one more study I'd like to mention, which is by Sarah Parton and her team. And they've been looking at how squirrels communicate in an urban environment. And they've found that a routine part of their communication is carried out by waving their tails.
Tails. Dumini liqillatar ekan. Tails.
You do also see this in the country, but it's much more prevalent in cities.
Countrydan ko'rsa bo'lar ekan, qishloqda lekin cityda ko'p ekan. They have found that looking at the squirrels communicate to turibdi, urban environment, they found that the routine part of their communication was carried out by waving tails. Demak, dumini liqillatib communication qilar ekan.
Possibly because it's effective in a noisy environment.
Oh, damn it. Cool.
So, what are the long-term implications of this? One possibility is that we may see completely new species developing in cities. But on the other hand, it's possible that not all of these adaptations will be permanent. Once the animals got accustomed to its new environment, it may no longer need the features it's developed.
Permanent dedi. Not all of them will be permanent. Doimiy bo'lmaydi dedi. Permanent degani doimiy degani. Ko'p hammasi doimiy bo'lmaydi. Ba'zi birlari adaptatsiya qilgandan keyin shuni tashlab yuboradi dedi.
So now we've had a look at
Qarab oling mana. Endi ko'rdik. So what are the long-term implications? One possible is that we may see completely new species developing in cities when yozilgan. But on the other hand, however, synonym, it's possible that not all of these adaptations will be permanent. Permanent bo'ladi, may not be permanent degani. Shu qisqasi bu qismni o'zini qo'yishga yetkazdik. O'zing ko'rgan hamma narsani keywordlarni belgilab, chizib tashladim, hamma joyga circle qilib tashladim. Shu bilan shunaqa qilib o'sha vazifani bajarishga, ishlashga harakat qilasizlar. Kommentlarda savol bo'ladigan bo'lsa qoldirishinglar mumkin. Men bu tushunmay qolgan bo'lsanglar, prosta men bu underline qilingan, circle qilingan skript tomonini tarjima qilishdan kifoya. Tarjima qilish, vocab topish bu eng bir 1000 marta takrorlab vocabni rivojlantirish bu listeningga key kaliti. Shuning uchun ham listening uchun vocabni rivojlantirishga harakat qilinglar. Shu bilan bugun darsimiz o'z oxiriga yetdi. Savollar bo'ladigan bo'lsa qoldiringlar, gaplashinglar, so'ranglar. Keyingi darsda ko'rishguncha xayr, bye bye.